It's time. I'm Johnny Gomes, your host, two-time World Series champ, and we do have the founders, Scott and Brandon, with us. I won't tell you which one has a birthday today, but hopefully y'all can figure it out by the end. Someone is closer to 50 than they are 30, but that doesn't matter right now. We're going to get down into some plays. We are all going to watch these plays for the first time. We want the shock value. We want to break down the cognition, how it works. I'll break down some of the athletic ability that these alpha athletes have. And here we go on the NFL gridiron with Lamar Jackson, the quad threat with his feet, with his hands, and with his brain. I mean, when you got guys that are upwards of 300 pounds running 4.4, 4.3 40s on you, not only is your life on the line, but you still have to make a play. We got a lot of side-to-side action. We're throwing on the run. We're going north. We're going south. This is what we call an unbelievably athletic play. There's probably about 4 in the country that are able to do this. We're seeing this with our own eyes right now. Scott, Brandon, break down what's happening inside his head as he is running for his life.
Well, I'll go ahead and jump in on the visual side and let Scott handle the motor control side, because there's a lot going on that we can unfold in this clip. From a visual perspective, just Lamar's ability to see the entire field. Obviously, he's keeping track of not only where his guys are and where the defensive backs are, but he's also got a feel in his periphery here about when the pocket is collapsing, guys closing in on him, how much time he needs. So he is processing visually just a lot of different unique things that are going on. Not only broadening intention to see the whole field, but man, he's got a search, right? He's trying to locate the guy who's open. Which of my receivers is open here? So he's constantly broadening attention and then narrowing his attention. And then just shifting back and forth from a visual standpoint. It's just really remarkable how he can do that, as well as just sort of stay calm under pressure. It's wild.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it a lot in basketball, if you will, and that would be like court awareness. I mean, the court awareness that you have to have on a football field here is second to none. And you don't get this at the combine, right? You can't test this at the combine. I mean, S2cognition.com, of course, we can run some tests on you with this, but this is something special that you can only get in game.
Yeah, this is, just the complexity in which he is processing information that's changing so fast is impressive. And we know a little something about Lamar Jackson. This guy is wired differently. He can process things, but you think about the action control and the motor control. He's not only focusing his attention downfield and in his periphery, but he has to move based on what the defense and the shifting is doing. You see, he starts to see a window, thought about running, did a little fake pump. I mean, he is coordinating his actions. He's controlling his impulse to want to, scramble, improvising to get back around his defender. He has an awareness of where not only the defense is, but where his blockers are, and is able to maneuver his decisions and actions around that scenario to buy a little more time. It's all about buying time. And if there's one dude who can buy time, it's Lamar Jackson.
It's unreal. Johnny, we hear, and I'm talking to one of the greats here, we hear, and depending on the day, Scott and I argue about hitting a baseball is probably one of the most difficult things to do in all of sport. What do we think about this? Coming from a guy who has done the most difficult thing in sport, what do you think about this kind of behavior, this kind of action, reaction? I know it's not akin to what a hitter does, but obviously you've got to be athletic as well on the diamond.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about hitting a round ball with a round bat coming at you 90 plus miles per hour, we can break down the reaction time. Not only is it coming in 90 miles per hour plus, we don't know if it's up, down, in, out, a ball. There's also horizontal and vertical movement that we're able to add into that too. But us baseball players, we don't have this side-to-side mobility that much on the fly, right? Just mano-a-mano, hitter versus pitcher, not a lot of east-west, even north-south, right? And then when we are running the bases, it's almost like NASCAR. We're always making left-hand turns, So we don't have this skill set by any means. And I don't know if this guy can hit a fastball, but I'm pretty sure there's not many baseball players that can make this play, nor even in the NFL. I mean, you got 32 NFL teams. You probably got about 2 or 3 guys that can make this play.
You know, Johnny, it's funny. I think you're right. I mean, most of baseball is pretty linear, although once in a while you see little examples of this. A dude sliding into third base, and he is able to rapidly detect the placement of the third baseman's glove and then adjust his slide to miss the tag and get the hand on the bag. Or I remember this play that just burned in my mind. It was unbelievable. There was a throw to the plate from the outfield. It was off target, and Jeter, I believe it was Derek Jeter, caught the ball with his back to the plate and then instinctively improvised and flipped the ball behind his back and threw the guy out trying to score at home. So those happen. This is the state of every play and the demands of every play on the football field or on ice hockey, basketball. But yeah, baseball, it happens here and there. But yeah, not every play like this.
Yeah, this is it. I'm sure there's a ton of defensive coordinators watching this play and just scratching their head, just going like, how are we going to defend this? And at the end of the day, you can't. You just hope he makes a bad throw. And then when he makes a great throw like this, I guess you just got to tip your hat and hope you don't get 7 out of it. And guess what? A little bit of soccer for you. This guy's known as just Messi, one of the best in the world. And watch this footwork. Now, we were just talking about linear, so that's a north and a south, right? We got east to west. And at the same time, which is unique about soccer, is this might be mile 3 for him throughout the day, right? So when you're winded, when you're tired, when you're dehydrated, to be able to have the hand to foot, foot to hand, foot to brain, mobility, and then to be able to just like have all that force behind the kick to get it into the goal. Now, this guy is hands down one of the best in the game, and he's splitting the defense right there. It seems like he does this nightly, which is unique, but don't get used to this. There's not too many people in the world making this play.
Yeah, he's just incredible. I do actually watch a lot of Messi on YouTube, just to try to wrap my head around some of the incredible things that humans do. I mean, this is a guy who's actually passing to himself, which is a skill in its own, right? I mean, the trajectory, the thinking about the weight of the pass, the ability to control your motor system, the vision this guy has is just unbelievable. We talk about anticipation, and Scott, this is obviously something you and I talk about regularly, like what is anticipation? What goes into anticipation? But if there's a guy on the planet who defines anticipating, whether anticipating what a defender is going to do, where the goalie is going to jump, and the ability to place a ball exactly where he wants to based on what he sees in the goalie, this guy is probably one of the best on the planet just from a cognitive perspective.
He is picking up the subtle leaning and movements of his opponents and working around those. So he catches a player leaning to his left or his right, and he just has enough to, it's incredible. He just barely taps the ball out of the way. And because he knows that defender's body weight is carrying him, he knows it's just going to be a nice little pass to himself. The other thing, Brandon, I mean, look at this. He doesn't even seem to look up at the goal. He has this spatial awareness of where he is. If you look at right here, he's taking the ball in. He probably looks up, but heads down, sees this defender, goes around him. He's not looking at the goal, and still perfect placement in the corner out of the reach of the goalie. So he took a snapshot at some point and used that information, holding it in his mind to direct his action. Unreal.
Right. Johnny, how much do we want to nerd out here?
Yeah. No, we got to break this one down, right? Because the snapshot was really important to me, right? And it seems like this snapshot he's taking is almost 3 steps ahead of the defender. It seems like the defender is guarding the ball, and he's going against the defender that's 10 yards in front of him that he's not even there yet.
Yeah, this is one of those. I'm happy to nerd out for just a minute because this is where I spent most of my academic career, is understanding the visual snapshot and how that visual snapshot degrades for different individuals. And so when we take a snapshot of our landscape in sports, that snapshot degrades in one of two ways, or it can degrade in both ways. But one is the fidelity. So when you think about very specific details of an image and how crystal clear that can be for some folks, the other is that things distort spatially. So remembering when he looks down, when he takes that snapshot and then looks down, he's got to remember, where was the goalie proximal to the two goalposts? Where was the other defender? Where's my teammate? All of that information, he's got to maintain that. And then one of the really cool things that Scott and I have worked together for years, even in the academic setting, is now he's got to wire up a motor program. So the kick, based on what that visual representation is. So he's got this snapshot in mind, and then he's got to dial up a kick for where that goalie was, how hard I need to kick it, how much spin do I need to put on the ball. It's just the way the elegance at which he interacts, his visual system and his motor system is just unbelievable. Thank you for allowing me to nerd out on my birthday.
Yeah, we needed that.
Johnny used the term anticipation. And when you see what happens, when he makes that final cut towards the center of the field, my guess is he anticipated that the goalie would take a step. Watch the goalie's movement. As soon as he moves to the middle of the field, the goalie takes a step to his right and then misses the ball by a step to his left. And so based on where he was playing, I would imagine he anticipated, if I make one more cut to the left here before I shoot, I can get that goalie just enough out of position to stick it in the corner. That's the kind of on-the-fly processing that happens so fast, and it's unbelievable when you start thinking about how quickly those decisions are made.
Yeah, and if you're not a soccer fan, plays like this will make you a soccer fan. And even if there is just one goal a night, when it's this type of goal, that is a special sport. All right, let's get back on the diamond here, right? So this is amateur baseball, Tennessee going against Vandy. Now from Jump Street, we're right away, what sticks out is left on left. Left-handed pitcher, left-handed hitter. And that is always going to go to the pitcher's hand, right? That's why they always got those couple lefties down in the bullpen. And you need so much going on. If you see the release point from the pitcher, it's almost starting behind him. Right? So to be able to keep that front side in, not flinch, not give in, and then have the ability to pull the trigger in about 0.2 seconds, to be able to see the ball, have it register your hand, and then he's not trying to tap the ball, right? We're not trying to just go the other way. He's trying to do damage. So left on left homer, us baseball guys might get a little bit more excited about it, but this is something special. And it's always down here in the college level too. So both these guys, especially this hitter right here, he's got a bright future.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, obviously, especially from a visual standpoint. Like you said, he's hiding the ball for a while. And this is a clip, Johnny, that I'd love to just have a dialogue about from your experience, right? Because there's a lot that goes into this. Like most sports, you do get that, most stop-start sports, you do get this ability to kind of think through, okay, what's the likely scenario I'm going to get this pitch here, right? And so you could be sitting on that particular pitch, but then once he starts his windup, you've got to go through all of these processing steps of, okay, what pitch is this? Where's this pitch going to end up? When should I initiate my swing? Even with some of those with deceptive pitchers, you've got to then make the decision whether you should swing. Like, this ball may end up out of the zone, so I've got to actually stop my swing. Clearly, to me, and I am very amateur when it comes to baseball, but it looks to me like this guy got what he was looking for. The way he was able to load up and time his movements, visually he saw something that just tipped him off. This is what I am looking for, and was just able to hammer it.
Johnny, you fix it. It looks like a slider to me. that just hung out over the plate.
Yeah, 79 miles per hour slider. I'm sure he's going to run his fastball anywhere between 10 to 12 miles per hour faster, right? Which is going to translate anywhere between 6 and 8 feet differential in your contact point. So, I mean, to hit this pitch left on left, you almost have to be sitting on it. But you can sit on it all day long and then put your B or C swing off. To be able to sit on it, have it a strike, and put your A swing on it all in the 0.2 seconds was pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it doesn't look to me like he was out in front a little bit. It looks like he was kind of expecting this or something off speed, because he nails it in terms of timing. I mean, it's a tug of war for time between hitter and pitcher. And changes in speeds are one of the most devastating tools in a pitcher's arsenal. I mean, it's unbelievable how sensitive our brains are to getting caught being out in front or being late when you're having to deal with something moving this fast and at unpredictable speeds. That cannot be understated or underappreciated. The difficulty in baseball, as you said, is a round ball, round bat. If the ball was coming at the same speed every time, guys be mashing all the time. It's mixing speeds, which is arguably one of the most demanding aspects of cognitive processing that a human can face. It's trying to decide, when do I swing this bat to optimize bat to ball contact. And boy, he was just right. I mean, I don't know if you can get any more on time there. He hit that ball out front, and everything was in sync here.
Yeah, Tennessee's lucky to have this kid, as they are right now, tops in the country, getting ready to bring a ring home out there in Omaha for the College World Series. I don't know how much of this you'll see, but, you know, Tennessee's looking forward to it in Omaha to bring them home a championship.
As a Tennessee alumni who spent 5 years sweating blood on the track for this school, I'd love to take home a national title. It's been a while.
I don't know. I'm rooting for either one of them, since we work with both of them, man. It's hard to we love them both.
Yeah, these teams are filled up with kids with very high S2 numbers. So I'm not surprised they're both riding well.
Yeah, and how cool is that, you know, that S2 now can put a number on it or can test where you are, right? And that's going to reflect maybe what pitches you should be looking for, what pitches you should be sitting on, of how fast your brain works, how fast your brain recognizes information. And by getting these numbers through these tests is going to parlay to your approach at the plate. And that's why you see Tennessee and Vandy's as top in the country.
Yeah, Scott, speaking of timing, Johnny, I'd love to get your input on this. So a big change in baseball, right, is adding the pitch clock, the timing of this. And just from a visual standpoint, from a visual timing standpoint, the brain develops this whole priming system with different speeds. So if you throw 97 miles an hour at somebody, visually you're primed to see that speed again. And that priming usually lasts in the neighborhood of 12 to 14 seconds. So if a pitcher throws something very off speed within 12 to 14 seconds, the hitter's brain is primed for something fast. So they're going to be significantly late on the next pitch. And if we look at the history of no-hitters across baseball, oftentimes you hear this pitcher was working quick, right? He was in his rhythm. Well, he was in his rhythm. I'm sure he was working quick, but working quick actually works to his advantage if you're using different speed pitches. What's your take on this? Because I do hear a lot of pitchers complaining about the pitch clock, right? And in that it really works against the pitcher. But from a brain science perspective, it can actually work in the pitcher's favor.
Yeah, I think for the first time in these last couple of years, the biggest change, obviously, with the pitch clock. But what I like to say now is it is now a race to adjustments and who can make the adjustment faster, especially as the at-bat goes, right? So, I mean, you swing a slider in the dirt, you no longer can step out, gather your thoughts, reset, all this stuff. I mean, you got to get right back in there. And it's the same thing with the pitcher that throws a slider for a ball. Well, it's a race to adjustments. You only have about 12 seconds to fix that slider. You only have about 12 seconds offensively to not chase that again. And again, does have to parlay into your practice. Now, when you're doing your offense in practice, you have to work quick, right? You take a bad swing even off the tee, right? Your guy has to put a ball right back on that tee, and whoever can make the adjustments the fastest will have the most success. And our bonus viral coming up right here, I guarantee your palms will be sweating at the end of this one.
God,
Jeez.
yeah, no thanks. No thanks.
And he has skis on, so.
Scott, Brandon, how about this for a bonus clip, right? I mean, it's tough just to watch these events, right? I mean, first place makes it, second place hits one of those walls, right? There's not a whole lot of room for error. I mean, what is happening right here? And it's so unique. Like, how do you get good at this? And how do you do this for the first time, right? You talk about being wired different. You got to be willing to put your life on the line to win the event. And I mean, Red Bull, I'm going through a tunnel right here. Come on, right? Not only you got to be athletic, you got to be ballsy, and you got to have the elements, right? I mean, this guy's reading the wind. I mean, when Mother Nature is your defense, you know, Mother Nature's undefeated, and this guy's just cutting right through it.
Yeah, I'm not even going to go to a cognitive perspective here. Scott, you've worked in this a little bit. How do you override the brain's risk management system and just say, I'm going to do this? Because this is wild. I couldn't even imagine, like you said, doing this for the first time.
You got to hit go at some point and overcome that emotional resistance and every fiber in your inhibition system firing at once to say, don't do it, don't jump. This is unbelievable. This is just next level. You've got to be able to inhibit your inhibitory system, right? I mean, you've got to be able to take the brakes off. But, you know, there's a lot of science about these elite performers. I mean, there's been some great movies and documentaries made on rock climbers that don't use ropes. And, you know, the assumption is that their brains just operate a little differently. Their appraisal and how they evaluate risk and how they handle fear and the potential for a life-threatening event, it just doesn't faze them as much. And they can quickly redirect their attention to the task at hand. I mean, you think about, and this is true of all sports, but if you have a moment here where you start to panic or think or worry about something bad happening, it's probably going to happen. I mean, athletes across all sports, your ability to control your attention to action and stay locked in on execution is one of your greatest weapons to accomplish things like this. And that's true of all sports. The moment you let fear, anxiety, we'll call them broadly distractions, you give them room in your mind, in your mental space to start creating doubt and uncertainty and question what you're doing, you're toast. My guess is this athlete has an incredible ability to just stay completely locked in on action and execution.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like a tough route to fly a drone, let alone have a human doing all this. So, yeah, there's a lot going on. And, you know, like the clips before, you know, if Messi screws up, he doesn't make the goal, right? Lamar Jackson screws up, you know, he throws a pick. If this guy screws up, I mean, he's wall art, and, you know, that's not what he's trying to do.
I was going to say, I still can't get over the question, when do you practice this? What does the first set of runs look like? You know, I mean, yeah.
Look at this from the bird's eye view and be like, yeah, I got this down. And that ramp right there, that's man-made. I mean,
it is incredible, though. We have done some work with some U.S. downhill skiers and snowboarders and some of the aerialists, and it is unbelievable to see them firsthand. The speed, the acrobatics, they hit that point of go, and it's on. I mean, it's unbelievable what they're willing to risk and maneuver and subject themselves to get to a point where they can pull off stunts like this. It's unreal.
Yeah, Scott, you mentioned that about the climbers with no ropes. I did watch the Solo movie about Alex Honnold, the first guy to free solo, and they did some MRI studies with him. Did you see that? And he doesn't have a robust amygdala response. So, maybe it's not this riding over the inhibition system. But what you said is quite remarkable, because typically you think of just frontal lobe management of emotions and fear and those kinds of things. But I'm assuming his frontal lobes are also coordinating all of these wild movements and execution of all of this. So there's just a lot going on for this athlete.
Yeah, it's unique. The thing that sticks out to me is probably these other athletes are turning stuff on. It almost seems like this guy's turning stuff off. Right? His adrenaline, his nervous system, the if I make a mistake, something's going to happen. It seems like he's just almost just press and play and turning things off or turning things on.
Man, that is a really cool insight, Johnny. That you're right. You have got to suppress all the potential sources of interference, which your own internal thoughts, the external possibilities, the fear of the physical consequences. You're exactly right. Turning things off is important as turning things on. If you practice and you turn things on, your brain almost gets in autopilot for some of these moves. You're just reacting, and it's processing and telling your body, it knows what the body needs to do, but it's turning off all that other stuff that is the difference maker. I think you nailed it, Johnny.
Well, I tell you what, man, by watching that, I got my palms sweating over here, so I think that's enough of the breakdown for today. I can't wait for next week to get some more exciting clips. Scott, Brandon, thank you so much for your knowledge. Brandon, pour some out for me on that birthday, and let's get back here next week.
You got it. This was a blast.
Good stuff.